other things you want to talk about with South America or how you ended up in Nicaragua?
Yeah, exactly. How I ended up in Nicaragua. So I love the villages and the authenticity of Guatemala. And then I heard that if I love this authentic kind of vibe, Nicaragua is the place for me because Costa Rica is really touristic and it's awesome and I loved it. But I want to get more of this authentic atmosphere. And I heard that Nicaragua is the place. So that's why I headed up to Nicaragua. And it did not go like like I planned.
Oh no, another thing that goes out of plan.
Yeah. But that's the best stories. So I'm glad for that moment. So what happened is that as I was in the north of Guatemala and I had to go back to the city called Antigua where I started my trip to get on a bus that takes me straight to Nicaragua. And that was the moment when I split up with my partner, Idan, which I had a great time with. And I was talking to someone that knows a bus company that should take me from the city that I stayed in the north part of Guatemala to take me to the southern part. And during the last few days, we were in a ride, non-stop rides. And because of my trip is limited to 2 months only, I thought that I should maybe do a night drive for me not spending any more days wasting on driving from place to another. So I thought it was supposed to be a good idea. Then I thought, so he told me to be at some place at 8 p.m., and then the bus supposed to take me from the place I stayed, which was called Flores. That's the name of the city in northern Guatemala, and to take me all the way down to Guatemala City, which was supposed to arrive around 6 a.m. And then we're supposed to shift from the big bus to a little van. It's supposed to take us for the next 2 hours to Antigua. So I was supposed to get up at 8 p.m. and supposed to get to Antigua at 8 a.m. That was supposed to be.
Mm-hmm. So you were supposed to, it was an overnight bus.
Yep, exactly. And then we got up at 8 and I was super sleepy and tired, but couldn't go sleep because the roads were not good, as you can imagine in Guatemala. And we were supposed to get to Guatemala City around 6 a.m., but then the bus stopped around 4 and everyone just went down. And I was like, what's happening, everyone? Why are we going down? And that was the first moment that I was traveling by my own. Like, this was the first one that I had no one on my side. I just split up from Idan. That was the first experience, literally the first moment of my solo travel. And then everyone went down and I asked everyone, but no, because no. I was the only English speaker there.
Oh, no.
So I would just follow everyone and I saw everyone are taking out their bags. So I took all of my bags. And the moment I stepped out of the bus, it just drove. And I was looking right and left and I saw that I am in a corner of a street that, I don't know, it was full of homeless people. And it was super dark. There were so many lights. And I didn't know where am I. And it was 4 a.m. We were supposed to be picked up at 6. I was in shock. And I'm really scared of these kind of situations because in the past, I had different kind of situations of sexual harassment when it comes to, so when it comes to staying alone at the street at night, that was definitely not part of my plans. Each time when it got dark, I just went straight to the hotel and locked myself until the sun rises again. I was in shock, actually. Everyone were looking at me because I was so, as different? A white person there. Yeah. Sorry for the unpolitical answer, but yeah, as a white person there, I was really stand out. And everyone looking at me and trying to talk to me, and they were so scary. They're like scary people. And I didn't know what to do. And I was by my own. I looked at the Google Maps. I couldn't understand exactly where am I. I had no one to talk because the only phone number I had is of the person that knew this bus company, but he was not part of the company itself. And even if I'm going to text him or even call him, that's 4 a.m. I'm going to wake him up and he has no clue. And I was really nervous and had no clue what to do. I was just taking my bag against the wall, and I had 2 bags, like the mochila, the big one of the 75 liters, and the day pack that I travel with every day. So I stuck up to the wall and hold my bag so tight and just try to have a scary look.
Looking tough.
But I don't have a tough look, because look at me, you know me a bit.
Look at me.
Yeah. And then, like, I'm a tiny person. I'm 1 meter 52 centimeters. I don't know how to kill a bug. Come on. And it was terrified 45 minutes when I tried to understand where should I go. I had my bus ticket and I showed it to everyone, and they were like, your bus is not gonna come anytime soon. And I was like, yeah, how can I get to Antigua? And all of them said, yeah, you can go on this bus, but you have to pay additional $50. And I didn't have the sufficient dollars because I already paid everything in advance. So I knew, I'm not going to go into this bus. And I tried to ask everyone. I was told that when I'm going to get at 6 a.m. to Guatemala City, someone supposed to wait for me in a white van and has a list name, and my name is going to appear on it. But I checked at everyone's pages all along the complex, and didn't see my name on any of the lists. And I had no clue what to do. Apparently, I was sold like not valid ticket, and I had no clue what to do and no clue who to ask. After 45 minutes, I noticed that a group of people that were dressed way more were dressed nicely comparison to the other person in the complex. So I said to myself, maybe they know English. I just went to them and asked them if they know English, and they actually knew. And I told them the story, and they said, yeah, we have no clue if you know where you are, but in this time and the place, and the fact that you're a girl on your own, this is super scary. We can take you anywhere that you want, anywhere, but just do not stay here. And they told me that they're a family, but there were no girls there. It was 4 boys. So I have no clue if I should just go with them or staying here. But eventually I thought that's my best shot. I was waiting for so long and no one came. And yeah, my parents have no clue about the story.
Okay, so this bus driver just dumped everyone at this unknown city, somewhere in between where you were supposed to go, and just said, ciao, like, good luck. And then you ended up going with this family. They were also like tourists, or they were locals there?
They were locals, actually. They took me to the airport, and I'm supposed to find a shuttle there, but I didn't. So I finally took an Uber with like a Mormon woman for Hawaii. It was super random. But I ended up somehow in Antigua, but it was super scary, the whole experience. That was the first moment of solo travel. And I just thought to myself, it cannot go worse than that.
So no, it cannot. At 4 a.m. in the morning, in some random street where everyone was trying to bother you, and then this family even telling you that, like, you should not be here right now, like, I don't know what you're doing here, and then you trusting them because you didn't know these people either, but you just made a judgment of your own, I guess, that okay, these people look like they're kind, so I'll just do what they say. Man.
Yeah, and I just decided to look at it as in a positive attitude, I guess, that says, okay, it cannot go any worse than that. So the worst part is behind of me, and everything else is going to be good.
Yeah, I'm just happy you're safe, that you made it back home okay.
Yeah.
So you flew to Antigua.
Yeah, we went there, and then I took another bus to León in Nicaragua. And Nicaragua is totally different. Like, it's so close to Guatemala, but it's super different because they have so many different kind of political issues there, and they have a civil war that ended up 3 years ago. The atmosphere there is not good between like the minister and the civilians. And they had even in the Leon, it's called the university city. So they have so many, I think the highest number of universities per city for all of the continent. So there are many left-wing people there. So the war started up from this city, actually. And then because of that, they have 2 times per day. I think the first one is an 8 a.m. and the second around 2. They have sirens around the city just to have a different, like a reminder to everyone that they are being watched by the government. Yeah.
So they sound sirens in all of the city. It's called the University City?
Yeah,
Leon. Okay. City. So the government sounds sirens throughout the whole city at 8 and at 2.
Around 2, I guess. Yeah.
Just as a warning, like, hey, we're watching you citizens.
Yeah. That's terrified. But the people and even the culture, they have they have history with America, and they don't really, it's not a touristic country, so they don't get to see a lot of tourists. So they don't really know English, and they're acting like not so good women, I can call it that way. So they are, for the first second they see a woman, like it was almost everyone that I met in Nicaragua in general, they're just scanning you. Like, again, it was my experience, but I talked with so many different girls that say the same thing. And they were scanning you and shouting, and you felt unsafe everywhere. And I was told that if I'm a girl going by my own, just to not do it, to ask for everyone to follow me, to go from one place to another. So actually, I was very dependent on other people in Nicaragua. So I stick to people all the time. And it was actually not the experience that I wanted to have in Nicaragua, unfortunately. So I have to travel with other people all the time. And also the language barrier. For example, it was very different from Guatemala, because in Guatemala they also speak Spanish, but you meet so many tourists all the time that you have almost all the time you have someone that speaks Spanish and English, or even Hebrew, because there are so many Israelis there. But in Nicaragua, since it's not a touristy country, like in each big city you have maximum of 3 hostels, let's say. So you don't really have any other option, and they're not full. So there are many moments when I have to try to be arranged by my own and to try to speak with them. We spoke through Google Translate because I didn't really know Spanish at that time. So the language barrier also was a thing. And I had mixed experiences. I met really nice people also. It's not all of the locals, of course. And there was one moment actually in Leon. We would travel there for 3 days. And then I traveled with another 2 friends of mine, which actually served with me in the military service. It was kind of funny. We didn't plan it, but we just met there. So we wanted to go from Leon to another city called Granada. And we have to take 2 buses to do that. So we met in the morning at the place that they were staying, a hotel called Via Via. And I went there, and then we took a cab to the bus station, which was 10 minutes driving of 10 minutes. And then as we went off the cab, we saw it just drive really fast, and all my belongings were with me, but my friends actually forgot one of the suitcases there. It was a big red suitcase, and apparently that the driver just stole it. And we were standing there, and the bus station, which was kind of remind me of in the vibe of New Delhi, it was so many smoke everywhere, and the houses were made out of kind of boards out of metal. Do you know what I mean?
Okay, yes, like containers almost.
Yeah.
The metal containers.
Yeah, exactly. Metal containers. And it was so in mess and rush, and people running from one place to another, and there are no roads and pavements, everything happening kind of very noisy, and we had no clue what to do, where to look for, and they knew Spanish. So they started to operate the situation, trying to look for trying to look for maybe a camera someone, and they found the camera at the hotel that picked us up, and they saw that the driver didn't have number on the car.
So it was an unofficial taxi.
Yeah, and they are so poor in Nicaragua, so it actually makes sense that people there trying to, also all of the kind of things with the cars there. That's really weird thing, because car is expensive thing, and as people that don't really have money to buy cars for themselves, they just all of the cars there were from the 80s. Let's say it was super old, and they were just trying to fix themselves the cars. So it was not, wouldn't go through any test in our kind of countries, those cars. And they don't really have rules there. No one forces that. So they don't have the numbers, and the cars themselves are not working so well. And we have no clue how to find the guy. And we waited there while they tried to contact many people, but no one knew what's his name. And we thought maybe it was a mistake, maybe he came back. But we waited there for 1.5 hours, and nothing happened. He didn't come back. So we thought, okay, I thought there was nothing to do. And they told me at that point of time that I don't have to stay with them. And if I want to, I just can go and travel by my own to go to Granada with the next bus, but they have to stay there to find their suitcase. And they were a couple, these two boys, boy and girl. So, and we were really good friends because I know them in advance. So I knew that that's okay for them if I'll just leave. But I was so scared to go by my own that I stayed with them, because I felt like I didn't really have another
I'll
choice.
stay with you guys.
Yeah, because I was so terrified to stay there by my own. And then the girl said to me after 1.5 hours of waiting there, she said, I think we should go to the police station. And I was like, the police station in Nicaragua, in this kind of places, I don't think they're going to help you.
No, I mean, there's no way they would be able to find that illegitimate taxi driver that ran off with your friend's suitcase. I don't think there's a way they could even, But I mean, I honestly probably would have tried to doing the same thing too, just because, I would have probably tried my options. Like, well, there must be some way we could try to find them again if someone knows of this person. But realistically, I would have known that's just not possible.
Yeah, so she insists, and I try to explain her that it's not going to help. But she was, I gotta do it. So I was like, okay, I'm with you. So we got back to the Via Via. There were people that knew English there. So someone wanted to go with us to the police station. He was really nice. And we went to the police station, and her boyfriend was waiting in the hotel. And then as we arrived to the police station, it took a big time. Everyone was shocked that someone goes to the police station and asks for help. It was a regular thing. Nobody actually does that apparently there.
Oh, they have other bigger things to tackle, I guess. So they were surprised, like, oh, what do you expect us to do? We don't actually help people here. Or people never actually, I guess they don't trust maybe the police department there either. So they kind of work things out on their own, and they don't really go to the police station for help. They rather just try to figure it out on their own, I guess.
Yeah, the locals don't really trust the police, which is a really sad thing. But that's the situation there. And then she asked for help, and then we went to a side room, which looked just like in movies. Like it was one floor building, all made of brick walls that it could collapse in a minute, basically. And the police officer, she wore uniforms, and you can see on her wrist that she had, she cut herself in both of her arms. So much. It looked like it's not the place or the people to trust. We were really shocked, both of us, to just go to a random police station in Nicaragua. Who would thought that we're going to do it? But we did. And then she asked details for the case and everything. And then she said, okay, we're going to handle it tomorrow. And then we asked, like, why tomorrow? Why not today? And she said, well, the person that's supposed to investigate these cases, the investigator, does not work today. So we were like, there was no one to investigate in this police station today. And she said, yeah, there's no one. We were a bit shocked. That's the moment when I realized the country itself, all of the things that the local told me about the lack of trust between the people and the government and the police. But there was one bright side to the story, because actually the government wants money and tourists brings money. So they actually do things for the tourists. And actually the rumor spread that they're looking for a taxi that had gray, we didn't really even know the name of the company of the car. We only knew that we had a gray car that stole a red big suitcase. This is it. And the rumor started to spread, and the driver was so afraid that the police were going to cut him that he just 4.5 hours later, he was back in his way to the hotel. He met the boyfriend, like one of my partners. He met this guy and he said, hey, you own the suitcase, right? Here it is. Open it, see that anything is not missing, so you won't tell anything to the police, and take it, and this is it. And that's how it ends.
What? I got chills.
Yeah.
Okay, I did not expect this to happen at the end.
Yeah.
I was thinking there's no way these girls are fooling themselves. These tourists, like, what do they want now? They're always having problems. But so the rumor spread from that first day you spoke to the policewoman.
Yeah.
So she did put the word out. I guess she did her job, even though she wasn't the lead investigator on missing suitcases. I guess she put the word out, and then the community got involved, and the actual taxi driver 4 hours later came back to you guys. That's pretty impressive. So it must be a small, tight-knit community for word to have traveled that quickly.
Yeah, I guess they're just afraid of the police so much that they're just, because I've heard that people can disappear because of this kind of stuff, just disappear. And it's because terrifying. Yeah, you can read about that it's completely different and so super long story, but it's really interesting to hear about what's happening in Nicaragua. And I'm sure that the people are good and they're just afraid of the government.
Yeah, I think my taxi drivers in Costa Rica were telling me, because I was like asking them, I was trying to learn everything I could about the country. So I was like, okay, is it true that you guys don't mesh very, very well with your neighboring countries, Nicaragua and Panama? And then they were like, yeah, Panama, we're like okay with them. Not the best, but we tolerate them. But the Nicaraguan government, their president is like, he's terrible, he's corrupt, people go missing that don't agree with him. He like fires everyone that's ever worked for him, and people go missing. I did learn a bit, and it was very eye-opening. I was like, okay, so I guess the rumors are true. You guys do hate each other. But from your personal experience, I can see why, because there were just things that happened that you could not believe, and you're seeing it for your own eyes, how these people are living and under this type of ruler. But I'm still shocked that the word got out about the missing suitcase and he actually returned the thing. I mean, you never hear of that really when you're traveling and you're just a naive traveler in the foreign country, for them to actually have returned it. But I do feel like he returned it based out of fear of his life versus feeling bad and guilty and like, okay, I don't want to get in trouble, so let me return this to these nice people, which is kind of scary.
Exactly, just for the proportions to hire, like to rent, and I heard from a local that said to rent 4 bedrooms apartment in Leon cost $50 per month, and the value of the suitcase was around $1,000.
$1,000? Does she have her laptop in it?
She had so many stuff, all of their favorite clothes, from brands, everything that she loved, favorite clothes and favorite, everything was there.
Oh, okay, because I was like, if they stole my duffel bag, it would not have been that much. They would get like my shorts and bathing suits. I don't have any expensive valuables on there. But I'm glad she got it back. I understand her for wanting to stay and insist on going to the police and getting her suitcase back if she had like all those valuables in there. I can't believe it actually worked out. So there's a lesson in, I guess, perseverance and determination.
Yeah, absolutely.
Tell you about Packlicious, who specialize in dog collars, harnesses, and toys that are durable yet fashionable. My favorite thing about them is that each purchase provides 2 meals of food for animals at the Humane Society. Over 230,000 meals have been donated so far. Their website was super easy to use when I was shopping for my own pups, Tiki and Rue. Head over to packlicious.com and use the code TikiRue, which is spelled TIKIRUE, at checkout to get 20% off new gear for your pup or a gift card for another dog lover.
It was such a strange experience, but in the end of the day, as we got back, we got the suitcase back and we went off the next bus. But in this drive, I just thought to myself, what happened to me? Why did I just went? What was wrong?
What happened?
What happened? And and why did I want to stay with them so badly? Like, what's happening inside of me that told me to stay? And then I just, in this bus ride, I just understand that I'm really afraid of people and afraid of the locals and afraid of being on my own. It was such an important message that I just finally realized, and everything fallen into place as I realized it, because it explained everything that happened and the way that I acted in many different situations in the past, and explain why did I acted this way when I was alone in the bus station in Guatemala. And so many different situations that it was just amazing that this trip led me to this understanding. And it explains a lot, I think, in this moment. And one thing is to understand that, and the other one is to start dealing with it. Because now that I know that, I have to work on that.
That's true, because I commend you for admitting to that. I think people might feel ashamed, like we all want to be outgoing and courageous and welcoming to anyone we meet, especially strangers, but it takes someone to admit, like, okay, I am scared and I'm not ready to face anyone and everywhere. And you were literally halfway across the world in a language you don't speak, and you look different from everyone else. So it's understandably so that you felt that way and a little uneasy. But for anyone to realize that, and they can just shut themselves off, right? But I'm glad to hear you say that even after you realize the challenges you face, that you're acknowledging the need to work on it. And this is what life's about. It's not about just sheltering myself in. And because I've had these scary experiences as a solo traveler, I will never solo travel again, or I will never go to a different country again. So I'm glad that it hasn't deterred you in that way. So I'm glad that you're still wanting very much to, like, okay, now I'm thinking about, how do I get better about this? How do I become more confident? And how do I learn to deal with these situations better later on and not put myself in those precarious situations?
You're so right. And thank you for your kind words. You're right. Yeah. And that was Costa Rica was about for me, to get out of my comfort zone and just do it. So because of that stuff in Nicaragua that made me feel uncomfortable. So there was a day when we went to an island called Ometepe, which is, in their native language, is two hills, because its island was in the biggest lake in Nicaragua called Lake Nicaragua, and 2 mountains are volcanoes. So it was really cool. So we actually went to this island, and that's a magical place because it's full of rainforest and different kind of animals and plants and trees. And it was just like amazing place. We stayed like a place that it's chocolate factory, and they have so many cocoa trees. It was so special. But as I wake up in the morning, I just didn't feel good. I feel bad because I understand the place itself and the people itself of the place are not doing any good to me, are not bringing me good energy because I'm just afraid. And then I just took a decision. I was traveling with Lilach, which which was with us in the same, yeah. Yeah.
And you guys, was that planned, or you guys just met each other and was like, oh, hey, I know you, let's travel together?
Second option.
Okay. So you guys also just happened to be in South America at the same time.
Yeah. And we wanted to go to Costa Rica together, but in the same day that I woke up in this place and just understood that the place itself doesn't do any good to me, I was like, Lilach, in 2 days, I'm going to be in Costa Rica. You can join me or not, but I'm just not staying here, which is also a big compliment for me because I think that I really want to stay because there was a moment when I realized that I'm not going to spend so much time in Nicaragua because I didn't like the atmosphere there. And I was just like, okay, I'm going to see one place or two places and this is it. And I kept remarking on these places because I was like, I'm not going to visit Nicaragua again, I guess. So at least let's see the most beautiful places that around me, that pretty close to the place I'm staying at. But it just wasn't worth it. So I was like, there's no point of staying in a place that doesn't do any good to me. I just need to go. And I had this feeling of letting go and just doing whatever my heart tells me to, which is also a thing that wouldn't happen unless this trip, I guess. Just being so unplanned and random and just saying, in 2 days, I'm going to be in a completely different place, different state, different country.
Just really trusting your intuition. And that's something I think we both have a hard time with too. You want to stick with the plan and you're like, this is how I'm going to receive maximal fun if I stick with the plan of the places I want to go with, the people I want to travel with. But it's something that you learn, and only that you learn through traveling. People who don't get out, I'm sorry, you're not going to experience this and grow as a person unless you're traveling internationally. And then you learn these things about yourself and trusting your intuition and knowing and telling yourself, okay, I have this strong feeling that this is it for me. Like, my time here is done. Let's move on to the next destination. And there's no crying about it. That's just how I feel. And sometimes you have to do that. So that's great that you've learned to follow your intuition and your own feelings.
Thanks. Yeah, and that's how I ended up in Costa Rica, actually. We just went there. Lach joined me.
I think I remember this. You guys told me that you just showed up. And someone had told you about the place, right? Because all the Israeli people talk to each other.
Right, yeah. There's so many Israelis all around the place. So yeah, it also that's a very good thing, actually, because as we've been to this rescue center where we met, if you remember, my credit card was lost in an ATM.
Right, that just sucked up your credit card and you couldn't get it back.
Yeah, absolutely. And then the first thing I did, like for Israelis, because of all of this phenomenon of Israelis traveling and the same age, so you have actually companies that help Israelis to travel together and to stay connected. So there are companies who operate WhatsApp groups for each state and each country, And then there was a WhatsApp group of Costa Rica with another 200 people. And I was like, can someone help me with my credit card? Did someone know what should I do in this situation? And someone actually helped me. And that's how I got out of it. Like, I think one of the biggest challenges of solo traveling, but the main one is to facing with problems when you have no one next to you that's actually you can trust, that's going to stay with you no matter what. And it helped me a lot, like to create a connection. That's a great tip for everyone who wants to solo travel, to be part of Facebook groups of locals, to create good relationship in the hostel, because even where we stayed, there's so many people who try to help, want to get money from their credit card to just give me cash. Mm-hmm. It was heartwarming.
Yeah, I went through the same thing too, not with the credit card being sucked into a machine, but my credit card or all my debit card. I tried all my bank cards. I just couldn't get any cash or colones out from any ATM
really?
in Costa Rica for some reason. And I called my banks and they said, it's fine. You have no travel restrictions on your cards. You should be able to. For some reason, I was not able to the whole time. So luckily, my friend Sion was able to provide the cash for all of our trips. And then I just Venmo'd her the rest of the money, or Zelle. So we were able to do it like that. But I was very dependent on that. It's like I have money, I just can't use it. So yeah, like if it wasn't for that, then I wouldn't have known what to do. But I'm glad you were able to find someone, a stranger from a WhatsApp group, that was able to, you guys were able to find a way to figure out the money thing. Yeah, and anyone else would have been freaking out, like, this machine just ate my credit card. Oh my gosh, like, I'm going home. So I'm glad you had help with that.
Same, thanks. And you, Sian. Sian's gorgeous. Just gorgeous.
Oh my gosh, you two really hit it off, didn't you?
Yeah. She's amazing.
We have to have a phone call with her off air next time, just the three of us.
For sure.
Yes, wow. She would love to hear from you.
Yeah, same. We actually had it was a super emotional moment for me when, and the second time, like we met first time at the Rescue Center, and then I think a week later or 2 weeks later, we met at Jaco in Costa Rica on the beach with Raz and everything.
Yes.
And then we talked to her. It was really funny story, because as I arrived to Jaco, I met two friends of mine that were staying there. Then we were talking. We were like, I missed them so much, so badly. I met them in Nicaragua the last time, and then we met again in the hostel. And I was so happy and thrilled to meet them. And then out of a sudden, a friend that we were in the same class at high school just arrived to the room. And then later, I met another friend of mine in the same hostel. Everything happened in the same 2 hours. I met 4 friends of mine. It was completely insane. And the next morning, it was like a house that has 3 floors. And I was going down the stairs of the last one to the second floor. And Raz came on the stairs. And I was in shock that I met so many people that I love in the same day, 2 days. And I told it to Sian, and Sian told me something, I'm not a religious person. But Sian told me that she thinks that God doesn't want me to be alone. And it was after a few days that I was surrounded by so many people that I met, like in the hostels, and we were really good friends. And I felt really good with everything that happened on the last few days. And then when she said that sentence, it was a mind-blowing for me, because it made a lot of sense, and it was true. So yeah, it was one of the sentences that I remember.
That you took with you from that trip.
Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing. Absolutely. Yeah. I know, we were so happy to hear that you were also in Jaco at the same time as us. And then we went to the beach that day, and we were like, and it's coming too. And I'm so glad you were able to join us. I think it was a very emotional beach night. It was dark. The beach was Playa Hermosa near Jaco. It's like a 10-minute drive from Jaco. And the sand was black. And I never been to a black sand beach. And the waves were crazy. Like, you, Raz, and Sian were sitting on the beach talking, I guess having this deep conversation that I was not privy to. Because me and Emery, we were out on the beach we were having like a photo shoot. But we were almost being swept away by the waves, because every time we would get in the water, even just a little bit, the waves would hit us and roll us into the ocean. It was insane. Like, the waves were crazy powerful. And then you guys were just sitting on the beach talking, and we were like, oh my gosh, guys, we almost died.
It was terrified, because it also was important to mention in the night. So you couldn't see anything.
No, there was no bonfires.
We disappeared for a second, and we were so scared that something could happen. Yeah.
Yeah,
For
and
me,
Sian was like, I'm not
it was
going near the
instead of
water.
fun.
Yeah, it was such a mood though. It was like super moody. I'm all about that. It was like dark, black sand beach. It was a mood. I don't even know how to describe it. It was powerful. The waves were super powerful too and just kept throwing us around. And then we came home with all this black sand in our swimsuits. Like you had black sand everywhere. You could not get rid of it. Speaking of
Yeah.
black sand, I saw an Instagram post that you mentioned it briefly earlier. This volcano that you went to in Nicaragua before we had met in Costa Rica, and you guys slid down. I think you and Lilac were both there, and you slid down the side of this volcano in Nicaragua, and that looks super fun.
Yeah, it was insane. It was absolutely insane. Yeah. It looked like a different planet. It was actually sliding a volcano. Yeah, we did it with a company that hired us the equipment and the guide. And it was a trek of 1 hour hike, actually. It wasn't that hard. So it's super easy, super nice. Just walking to the top of the crater, looking at the view around, which was insane. Everything was black, the sand. You could see the line where the lava came to because there were so many trees and there was like a straight line where everything stopped. Insane, yeah. And then as we came to the top, we just had to slide the volcano all the way down where our car was waiting for us.
That looked
Super
amazing.
fun.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
looked like another world. You were in Mars or something. And they gave you these like
Absolutely.
space suit looking things to slide down the side of this volcano. So was it an active volcano or was just like the ash from the volcano that used to be there?
Yeah, it wasn't active.
Okay.
It
Just
would be
because a lot
dangerous.
of the volcanoes we visited in Costa Rica, they're actually active. So, but it would make sense that one that they actually allow you to hike up to it and slide down is no longer active. Just the amount of volcanoes in that whole region is just amazing.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. I've heard
And
that
then,
Nicaragua is quite beautiful because before I went to Costa Rica, I had a friend that even told me that, oh, like if you have time, try to spend a day or two in Nicaragua. It's right next to Costa Rica and it's super beautiful. She's like, I highly recommend it. But now listening to your experience, I'm glad I didn't go out of my way to do that because I thought about it. And that's when I tried to think about maybe making arrangements to do that. And then that's when I was asking my local taxi drivers and they didn't seem too into the idea either. So I'm glad I didn't, but just because of like the overwhelming praise I've heard about Nicaragua, I wouldn't deter anyone listening from going. Like I would still hope that if that's something you want to do, I would still try it, maybe make it part of like a Central America trip. Like Nicaragua, like Guatemala, Nicaragua, Costa Rica, Panama, maybe make it part of your stops. But I would still definitely go in the future because of the things I've heard about it that's so beautiful, and this volcano that you went to that you were able to slide down sounds super fun. It's something else, right? When you experience it for yourself, like the crazy experiences you had there. But I think my friend had a better time, maybe because she went with her school. She was doing vet school over there at the time. So I think her school took like a bus and drove them around. So I think that's why she felt safer and she didn't bring anything that was concerning up to me when she recommended it so highly. And like you said, they have these beautiful rainforests and nature reserves and animals everywhere. So that does sound like a good time.
yeah, that's a beautiful place. I just think that if you do want to visit there, just have a boy around. Just do not walk by your own. It's going to be okay. Because I wasn't surrounded. I had to be surrounded by men. And then when I was with men, it was okay. So
I feel like that's so triggering to hear for someone that's like, I don't need a man. I can do this on my own.
yeah,
But at the same time, you are staying in a different country with complete different customs and traditions and culture. So it is for safety, I guess. Yeah, that's a good recommendation to have if you can plan out your travel to include maybe a mixed group and not just like you or like two girls, then that's might make you feel a little uncomfortable and then make your trip not as fun as you would hope. So that's a good tip.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I wish I could go by my own. Yeah, I also think that we don't actually need men to go to go to places alone, But yeah, there are kind of countries that you don't really You have to act like local.
Yes, you have to acculturate to that country, not being like, oh, I'm from America or I'm from Europe or whatever, and I'm going to just do whatever I want. No, you have to respect the country that you're visiting and be grateful that they're happy to have you and learn their language and their ways and customs to ensure that you have the best time too, and really respect the people that this is their community, this is where they live. So you have to respect where they're living in.
Yeah.
Well, it sounds like you had a hell of a ride and you learned a lot about yourself. Did you make some good lifelong friends from this experience?
Wow, absolutely, you and Sian, for sure.
Oh.
Yeah.
We'll have to go visit you in Tel Aviv.
Sure. And I have to go to Texas to Austin one day. Yeah,
you should.
have to.
Have you wanted to come to the US?
Sure. I've been to the US once, actually. Yeah, I've been to California and New York, but I have also to go to Texas. I have some friends who've been to Texas and loved it there.
Oh, okay.
And now I absolutely have another reason to visit Texas.
Yes, it's huge. It's just a lot of open land. But we're happy to host you anytime. Sian and I haven't even really visited each other ever since I moved away from Houston. So it's like we don't even really travel the 12 hours or whatever. And there's a couple times where I've flown back to Houston for other purposes and I've seen her from that. But yeah, that'll give her an excuse to come here and visit me if you're here too. And she can see our desert landscape.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. I super enjoy with you guys, and I met other amazing people. There was a period of 2 days when I traveled with 7 other Germans, which was really funny. It was I had a promise in Costa Rica to go to rent a car by my own and just travel to all of the touristy places. And then I reached to a village called Totoguero. It is right to the north border with Nicaragua. And that's an amazing place. That's half of island where I don't know how to explain this place. It's also a nature reserve. And in this period of the year, it was around July, the turtles, they are like green sea turtles there that's laying eggs on the beach, which was, and I've seen it, it was one of the most magical things that I've ever seen in my life. But because of this village is so, it's not close to anywhere, I have to drive 4 hours to get there and then to take boat of 2 hours. And then I went apparently with 7 more Germans on the same boat, and then we stayed in the same hotel. So we spent the whole time together there, and we were really good friends, and they were really nice, all of them. And there was another day in Manuel Antonio when I traveled with a Turkish guy called Alf, which I love. And I met so many different people around the world. And it's just so heartwarming to know that you also have friends around the world, but in the same time that everyone has so many different stories to tell and different perspectives, and everyone have the same good hearts. You know what I'm talking about?
Mm-hmm.
Everyone are so nice and want you to feel good and feel safe and feel comfortable and to hear what you have to say. And I think it also only made me to want to travel the world more and to meet new cultures and more people. And it was just an honor to meet everyone.
Now that you bring up the good hearts of everyone you met, I feel the same. I feel like it must be the heart of a traveler or something, because I felt the same too. It was just so easy to get along with and really connect with people on the trip that you wouldn't have met. But I guess maybe it's also a thing that people who like Central America, and I feel like it's really the hearts of everyone that likes to travel, and they also like to have new experiences and make new friends and constantly learn more and diversify themselves more and make people feel comfortable and really try to connect with people. You saw the conditions of how people were actually living day to day and what they had to go through as a part of living there.
So agree. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And it tells so much about you, I think, meeting new people and to deal with those experiences, with those travels. And I had so many other travels around the trip, so many things that went wrong. And every time that I got out of a situation just make me feel like I'm capable of so much more than I can think of. But unless you're just trying to go for it and to do it by your own, you'll never know. So I encourage everyone to just, go out and do the impossible. Just walk up, print a ticket, fly somewhere, just do it. Just try to go out to make your dreams come true, I guess. If you want to see the world, to meet new places, everyone can do it. It just takes a bit of courage. You can do it, yeah.
Yeah, it's okay. If little 22-year-old Edith, who tries to look tough on the streets at night, can do it, then anyone can do it too. Especially if you have a good friend to travel with you, then that's even a bonus. But some people like solo traveling, so if that's up to you too. So yeah. I know your next chapter in life is to focus on work and college. Do you have any other future plans of traveling?
Yeah, I actually really want to go to Lapland.
Where?
In Norway, in general. And just try to, Lapland is an area that I think Norway is part of it. And that's the place in the world that you can see the Northern Lights. If you heard of that.
Oh, yes, I have. It's one of my bucket list. But have you heard of the Southern Lights?
What? No. Oh my God. What are these? Where can I see it? How do I know this?
Yeah, not many people. I don't know why there's just a huge deal about Northern Lights, which is called Aurora Borealis. But a couple of years ago, I learned about the Southern Lights, which is called Aurora Australis. The Northern Lights are in the Northern Hemisphere, obviously, and it's not a direct like North Pole, South Pole kind of thing. It's a little slanted. So certain countries like Canada, even Alaska, Norway, Finland, Greenland, maybe Russia. So those countries up there, you're able to see the Northern Lights. But the Southern Lights are a little more elusive, I would say, because a lot of the ring of where it's visible, it's lost in the ocean.
Whoa.
So because in the northern part, there's a lot of countries that are right under that ring. But the Southern Lights, it rings across the ocean and part of Antarctica. So unless you're in a certain place at a certain time of year that there's a visible solar flare into Antarctica, or maybe by some chance if you're on some cruise and you're in the ocean in the South Pole, you might be able to see it, as well as in some parts of Australia and Tasmania, which is that little island under Australia.
Yeah.
Maybe, no, I don't think New Zealand. I might be wrong. But when I was researching into the Southern Lights, that's where I read you could see it is in Tasmania and certain parts of Antarctica. So that's why it's a little more elusive. And I think that's why people don't know about it. But hey, if there are two, then I want to see both.
For sure. Wow. So cool. Antarctica is also on my bucket list.
Okay, cool. So after you see the Northern Lights, we'll make a plan to see the Southern Lights. But it's so hard. It's like, there's no guarantee that you're going to see it. I mean, even the Northern Lights, it's kind of like you just have to see it by chance. So you can't really plan that well. Well, I guess there's certain months that you have a higher possibility of seeing it. But especially the Southern Lights, most people hardly travel to that part of the world to begin with. It's so far away and expensive. And for it to line up perfectly where you get to see it, that's my bucket list.
Yeah, you're right. I guess that if you're going with a group and someone who knows the area, so maybe the chances are going to be higher. Because that's what I'm planning to do actually in Norway, in Lapland.
To stay with someone that knows what they're doing and can take you?
Yep. Yeah. I know this one Israelis who do that.
Oh, of course. Of course there's an Israeli that knows how to do it in Norway. They're just everywhere. When do you plan on taking this trip?
It was supposed to be in December, but it didn't come out. But on the next winter.
Okay, so like during your break from school.
Yeah, if I'll be studying them. Let's see.
I hope you enjoyed this episode. For ways to support the podcast, please tap on the bio link in my Instagram page at MFMP Pod. Consider becoming a patron at patreon.com/MFMP. In addition to helping me keep the show on air, you'll also receive access to exclusive content and other patron-only perks. Till next time!